So moving on now, let's talk about the components of agility. Agility is very multifactorial, there's a lot going on, and this next slide is far from complete, but I think it'll give you a good overview and a good sort of general gist of what's going on, what are the different factors that make someone either good at or struggle with their agility and their change of direction. So agility can really be broken down into three parts. There's the physical side of things, the physiological components. There's technical, so that's really the big topic of these three units that we're talking about, that we're right in the middle of now, is the technical, the movement skill side of things. And then the last component is the cognitive. That's your mental capacity, that's your sport-specific awareness and situational context, things like that. So if we look first at physical, there's the basic stuff. So strength and power obviously going to be really important. Mobility, flexibility, being able to get into positions and create good body angles and be able to load and explode out of your joints is really important here. Quickness, so that kind of comes back to that foot speed idea I mentioned before. So quickness, reactivity, being light on your feet as well is important so that you're not overloading and spending too much time on your contact times. And then linear speed, both in terms of acceleration, but also linear speed in terms of deceleration as well. Your ability to stop quickly is also really important when it comes to the physical side of agility. Now, these aren't completely separate silos. Each of these has components that will sort of trickle into each of the other three areas. And so if we look at technical, some of these things will be contributed to by your physical side of things as well. So technical, we're looking at things like foot placement, posture and angles are really important. So hitting the right angles, getting your feet in the right position, moving your body around pivot points at the right timing and right rhythm is important here. Arm action, just like with sprinting and speed, arm action is strongly connected to and linked to your leg drive. And so if you have a better arm action both into and out of your cuts, that's going to make you better at agility. And then also stride adjustment. So your ability to adjust strides, make them short and choppy, make them long and explosive, being able to reach around opponents. Sell dummies is important as well, being able to sort of fake an opponent out and sort of look to go left and then actually go right. Things like that will influence your ability at agility, particularly in an open sporting setting. And then lastly, cognitive, the sort of the neural side of things. So decision making is really important, deciding which way to go left, when to throw a fake, when not to. That's a really important part. Anticipation, particularly defensively in sports. So if you're defending an opponent, your ability to anticipate what they're going to do, whether it's based on scouting or just reading their body or knowledge of the situation, your ability to sort of cheat and get ahead of them is really crucial, particularly on defense, like I mentioned. Experience will play directly into those two things above. So your experience, your ability to, I've been here before, I've had a situation like this, I remember what that person did last time, I remember what happened in a similar situation to this. So making mistakes and then learning from them, adding them to your cognitive bank so that you can know what to do or not to do next time. And then the last part, which all three of those components, all four of these components, all tie into that experience idea, visual scanning. The research is pretty clear on this, that the better, more agile athletes who are better at sport-specific agility tasks, scan differently and they scan faster. They look for cues, they pick them up quicker, and they're able to read them differently. So the better basketballers, footballers, soccer players, they're reading their opponents differently. They know what to look for because they're not worried about the ball. Maybe they're looking at the hips, or they're watching their eye contact, or they're watching their foot position or their stride adjustments. Things like that will give them better cues as to whether they should fake left and go right, fake right and go left, not fake pull up for the shot or pass the ball on. They're making these decisions based on their experience, but based on what they're picking up from the environment. Now, not many athletes at the elite level will be able to tell you exactly what it is they're looking for. This is one of those things that they learn through experience. So having played the game of basketball or rugby or whatever it might be for 10 years, you just know what it's going to be like when you pick up an opponent. And we've got a great example of that from baseball coming up, where baseball, hitting is such a fast thing. You've only got so little time to pick up a pitch, and the time from the ball leaving the hand of the pitcher to reaching the slot, to reaching the plate, there's only fractions of a second there to get yourself in position, swing at the right direction with a bat that's narrower or the same size as the ball. So you don't have much of a strike zone, and your chance of making that hit is so little. But good hitters, good strikers are able to pick up the right cues from the pitcher. His leg did that, he shifted his body weight in that direction, knuckles are on the ball like this, the ball came out rotating like that, and make those decisions and swing or not swing ahead of time. So they're making a lot of anticipation, a lot of decision making based on that visual scanning. So you can see it's all combined here. Now this list here is far far from complete. There are many components outside this, and each of those little components, those little stems in those trees, could be broken down into hundreds more components. That paper I mentioned before from Shepherd and Young, it has a great diagram in there as well, sort of looking at the different components of agility in a sort of similar schematic to this, but sort of breaks it out into even more depth if you want to look into that as well. So let's now break these three components down into the physical, the technical, and the cognitive. And we're going to start with physical. So if we take